Democrats are working hard, and in all these stories about them, registering all these minority voters that are out there and others that are sitting on the sidelines, if they can do that, they can win this election. In 2017, his office canceled about 670,000 voter registrations, and now he has put on hold 50,000 new voter registrations in the state, potentially preventing those newly registered from voting. It's no surprise that 70% of the registration being held up by his office belongs to African Americans. What's 70% of 670? Oh, somebody do that, man. Nah, what's 70% of 50,000? It's not 670,000. Let me don't lie to people, you know what I mean? That's 35,000. 35,000 of those votes that's been held are black votes. We can prevent things like this in the long run. We cannot let this stand. The NAACP is fighting back, filing lawsuits to stop this voter suppression from taking place. We need to do everything we can to support them. Will you make a $3 contribution to support the NAACP as they fight for the right to vote in this critical moment? They are on the front lines of this fight and need our support. Every American, no matter what his or her political view, must vigorously protest outrageous attempts to suppress the vote. Our job is to make it easier for people to vote, not harder. Not the Republicans. They want to make it harder for other people to vote because they know that they're going to go vote regardless, you know what I mean? Our job is to make it easier for people to vote, not harder, regardless of who they plan on voting for. We believe our ideas can win. Clearly, Republicans don't. In solidarity, Bernie Sanders. Let's go, Bern. Let's go. Feel the burn. Let me leave Bernie alone real quick. This is from Every Town for Gun Safety. And it says Alpha. Election day is 22 days away. And we've been hard at work to elect a gun sense majority, and we will keep going. In fact, I wanted to give you an update on some of the work that we've been doing and invite you to join us for volunteer opportunities happening now and leading up to November 6th. With more than 3,000 candidates receiving the Moms Demand Action Gun Sense Candidates distinction, our volunteers have been rolling up their sleeves and doing everything they can to help get these candidates elected. As a result of more than 500 canvassing events held this past weekend alone, we've knocked on more than 20,000 doors and have held more than 50,000 conversations with voters by candidates who will stand up for gun safety. In addition, we have made more than 80,000 calls to voters across the country to educate them about the gun sense candidates in their area and to ensure we elect a gun sense majority during the midterm election. We've helped register nearly 90,000 voters across the country. Thank you. Trying to tell y'all, man, like, by the time this out, it's gonna be 2 weeks before the election, you know what I mean? It's gonna be 2 weeks before the election by the time this is out there. You quite literally have 2 weeks, yo. Like, if you've talked to anybody who's actually go vote and you've been slouching about it, been iffy about it, don't, man. I'm begging you, please don't. The African in me is literally getting on all fours, touching on your feet right now. I am begging you, touching on your foot right now. Oh, now, wow, now watching, like, oh, please, just go vote, please. The future of America depends on it now. The future of the world by proxy, though the future of the betterness of America depends on it. You got to go vote now. Please, I dey beg you now, your foot, so. Yeah, I dey beg. Okay, please. From the bottom of the deepest abysses of my heart, I dey beg you. Okay? The work that we've done so far have been incredible, but it's... Ooh. Okay. This is Shannon's word, so I gotta leave the African accent alone and deal with my natural African accent. Okay. The work that we've done so far have been incredible, but it's critical that we continue our efforts to talk to as many voters as possible. And the final 3 weeks leading up to November 6th will offer more opportunities for us to ensure we win big. Thank you for volunteering with me. I'll see you out there. Shannon Watts, founder, Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Okay, let's see here. Let's see here. Georgia. Okay, okay, let's see here. This is from ABC News, I mean from the AP News. It said Mike Pence cancels visit to Georgia and Alabama, October 11. Vice President Mike Pence has canceled his planned visit to Georgia and Alabama. It was the second time Pence had to postpone a visit as a hurricane pounded the region. Pence on Thursday had been scheduled to headline a GOP fundraiser in support of Republican Brian Kemp's campaign for Georgia governor. Pence has been scheduled to come to Georgia last month, but the event was canceled because of Hurricane Florence. Thank you, Florence. I love you, girl. Go ahead with your bad self. What? Pence headlined a rally for Kemp in July ahead of the Republican primary runoff. Kemp faces Democrat Stacey Abrams in next month's general election. Pence also canceled a trip to Birmingham for National Senatorial fundraiser. Thank God. Thank you, Florence. But I guess Kanye ain't gonna have a reason to say that, whatchamacallit, Pence don't like black people. Ooh, this is from Donald Trump's favorite newspaper, the Washington Post. It's by Glenn Kessler, and its title is under the fact checker analysis section, and it's titled How Trump Bobs and Weaves to Avoid the Truth. As he so often does, President Donald Trump falsely declared on 60 Minutes that North Korea and the United States were going to war before he stepped in to thwart it. But you lying like shit. I was so hoping that I would have saw that 60 Minutes. I had to work. That was the last night of the Drake concert, so I had to be at work. You know what I mean? And Patrick Mahomes, yo, Kareem Hunt, you gonna learn that lesson? Y'all gonna learn that lesson? Like Brady said, I ain't never heard Brady being that honest in his life. Brady said it best. He said he saw on the sidelines when Kareem Hunt, when it was the Hunter Hill that scored. I didn't see the game, so I'm going based off the highlights I saw on ESPN. I only saw like twice. So Brady said as soon as they score, he like, all right, cool. Y'all leaving me with one something. All we need is a field goal to win. So, but yeah, one thing I gotta learn: go to that Super Bowl. The second time the Giants beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, right? It was this one play when Belichick purposely let Ahmad Bradshaw fall back into the end zone and scored so they can get the ball back. But the only difference then was the Giants' defense. They already knew, you know what I mean? They already played with that business already, so they wasn't gonna let them score. Like JPP and them boys, they weren't gonna go for that. I mean, not JP, I mean Justin Tucker, them boys, they weren't gonna go for that. You know what I mean? Like Mahomes, you gotta deal with destiny, brother. As somebody who was a rookie last year, who was there when America's president right now, calling you guys who were protesting sons of that word that should not be uttered. I I remember your press conference where you come out and say, hey, I don't know who you talk about, but I ain't no SOB, you know what I mean? Like, I feel you, like, I get it. As somebody who's like that, I so believe that you guys have a date with destiny in the sense that you gonna face this New England Patriots squad again in the AFC Championship game. You're quite literally gonna face this New England Patriots squad in the AFC Championship game. And when you do, as I believe you guys were the better team in Sunday's game, you just went up against a juggernaut who's been there before plenty times, you know what I mean? You guys were the better team, you guys are the better team. You got to deal with destiny, brother. And that destiny should lead you guys to the Super Bowl. I think the Rams should come out the NFC. If y'all do, ooh, what a Super Bowl it will be. I hope whichever team wins of one of those two that I'm thinking will be that. I hope whichever team wins, yo. I hope it's you, Pat. I hope it's you guys. I think Andy Reid finally have a much better, smaller, faster, slicker, better pass in Donovan McNabb than he did with the T.O. debacle, you know what I mean? And the Donovan McNabb vomits in the huddle, you know what I mean? I know he has a better squad now going up against a Super Bowl, going up in the Super Bowl, you know what I mean? Please, man, please win that Super Bowl. Please be that, what's it, Doug Williams, who is it, Doug Williams, Russell Wilson, and then you. Please be that third black man to win a Super Bowl as a quarterback. Please be that. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if my dumbass, booty scratching African ass don't get deported, I'll watch it here. If I do, I want to be there with my little 4-year-old baby girl, sit there at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, cheering you on the Super Bowl in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Yes. Let her see the sport, one of the sports that her daddy loves so much, being played by somebody who look like her all the way in the United States. You know what I mean? Like I said, her dad is a sports head. She don't know that yet, but she gonna get that. You know, just like LeBron knows he has a date with destiny. If anyone knows that better, cause Boston look good, boy. Gordon Hayward playing some defense. Gordon Hayward looked like he walked on this defense. He looked like Brad Stevens. So like, hey, Gordon, man, I need you to work on your defense, cause your offense gonna come. I need you to work on your defense. You know what I mean? LeBron knows he has a date with destiny. In the year he was born, that championship that the Lakers won against Boston, he knows how significant that is. He knows. He's a student of history. He's a student of basketball history. He's a respectful student of basketball history who's become a sage of the game and who's going to become a bigger, better, stronger, more open sage of the game. You know what I mean? Like, he knows. Right now, Boston, LA is 17 and 16. And we got Rondo, the only person who's relevant enough, who would have literally contributed to, winning that 17 for Boston and losing to LA for LA to get that 16 and winning that 17 for LA against Boston. And maybe sign another year deal and come back and go back up against Boston and win that 18th over them and tie it up. But the tie to all this is that if that were to happen and all those championship teams decide to not show up at the White House till this racist in chief leaves, instead visit DC, go visit Washington Hospital Center, go visit Children's Hospital right next to Washington Hospital Center. You know what I mean? Go visit the African American Museum at the Smithsonian. Go take a trip. Go do it. Like, yeah. Instead of going to this racist White House, this White House that descendants of the African American players on those teams built. That White House wasn't built by no crackers. They might have planned the whole thing, but that White House wasn't built by no crackers. It was built by slaves. Come on, like, yeah, I know that's true. So, but you know, but it has been desecrated. So, Ain't no point in visiting. Just don't visit. Like just like Golden State didn't do. Like just don't do it. Like just like you said, Bron. How you gonna take back an invitation when somebody didn't even ask for the invitation to start with? Stephanie wasn't gonna go, so get the fuck out of here with it. You know what I mean? I just had to point that out because that was an awesome ass night. I was so hoping that I wouldn't have to work that night, but I knew I had to work that night. I did not know what the episode was gonna be about till like 2 days before. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for the fact that bills gotta get paid, I gotta pay for this. You know what I mean? So that's it. Y'all know studio time ain't cheap. I can't afford studio time. $100 of studio time, I can't afford that shit. So, you know, this is my. It's like now let me stop. Let me stop. But I was so hoping that I could have been here for that 60-minute episode and actually had it on while I'm pointing out his lies and whatnot. As he so often does, President Donald Trump falsely declared on 60 Minutes that North Korea and the United States were going to war before he stepped in to thwart it. Interviewer Leslie Stahl was having none of it. We were going to war? Trump immediately retreated to safer ground, expressing a view rather than trying to assert a fact. I think it was going to end up in war, he said, before moving on to his impression of the situation. The 26 minutes interview that aired October 14th was typical Trump, bobbing and weaving through a litany of false claims, misleading assertions, and exaggerated facts. Trump again demonstrated what the fact-checker has long documented. His rhetoric is fundamentally based on making statements that are not true, and he will be as deceptive as his audience will allow. The stage of 60 Minutes was one of the more difficult public settings Trump has allowed himself to be put in. It was the rare national audience outside the friendly confines of Fox News, and in a one-on-one televised interview with a skilled reporter who challenged him repeatedly. The result was Trump resorting to all of his favorite moves to sidestep the truth. On Stahl's first question about whether Trump still thinks climate change is a hoax, the president dodged by saying, "Something's happening." He then completely reversed course and declared that climate change is not a hoax and that, quote, "I'm not denying climate change." Trump had also falsely said that climate will change back again, even though the National Climate Assessment produced by his White House last year said that there was no turning back. He said he did not know whether climate change was man-made, though the same report said there was no convincing alternative posed by the evidence. Trump did his usual shrug when asked whether North Korea is building more nuclear missiles. Well, nobody really knows. I mean, people are saying that. Among the people who are saying that the U.S. intelligence agencies who have concluded that North Korea does not intend to fully surrender its nuclear stockpile and is instead working to conceal its weapons and production facilities. Even when he adjusts his rhetoric, at times contradicting what he has just said, Trump almost always appears to firmly believe in what he is saying. While he quipped with Stahl over some details regarding North Korea, for instance, he refused to concede ever on the big picture. He dismissed a question from Stahl about the shout-outs he gave out to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un at one of his recent rallies. "We fell in love," as just a figure of speech. Yet he went on to insist that Kim had agreed to denuclearize, a goal long sought by U.S. presidents. Kim actually has only signed a non-binding statement of goals, and the goal to work towards complete denuclearization was listed third. The communique the two men signed was far less detailed than the declaration issued by North and South Korea more than a quarter century ago, with little consequence. On trade, the president continued to suggest that deficit means the U.S. is losing money. This guy is such a fucking idiot, yo. This guy is such a fucking idiot. I ain't got no more cigarettes. I ain't trying to buy none right now because I'm really, yo. Hey, boys and girls out there everywhere, yo. Please, if it's one habit you should fight the hardest to not pick up, it's smoking cigarettes, yo. I know you've seen me do it, and I get it. I say that to say because the addiction is that real. You know what I mean? Don't. The addiction is that real, yo. Like, yeah. I just TRPTSD, yeah. TRPTSD. Woosa. Gotta woosa. Woosa. On trade, the president continued to suggest that deficits means the United States is losing money. I told President Yi we cannot continue to have China take $500 billion a year out of the United States. That's wrong. The trade deficit just means that Americans are buying more Chinese products than the Chinese are buying from the United States. Not that the Chinese are somehow stealing US money. You know how many people believe that? You know how many people believe in the same way this guy believed that shit? You know what I mean? Like, that's why, and whenever I get into discussion with it, and I try to break down to people that Obama inherited a $1.4 trillion deficit and left it at $434 billion, they don't get it, then it doesn't make sense, it doesn't compute in their mind because they hear the word deficit, they hear China, they hear this and that, all of a sudden they believe that America is losing. America ain't never lost to a country economically. Trust and believe. The Americans that came up with this free market capitalistic system of money making they ain't never lost then, they ain't losing today, they're not about to lose tomorrow. That's not happening. That what had happened or not, that's not happening. Nah, dog, go ahead with that. Like, that's just stupid, man. But, you know, people don't know. Like, people don't know because people choose not to seek it out. And the powers that be want to keep it that way. Like, people today, a lot of people think the part of the U.S. budget every year that's allocated to foreign aid, it's like this much, or it's like this, it's less than 1%. Less than 1% of the U.S. budget goes to foreign aid. But about at least 6% of U.S. foreign aid, of U.S. military foreign aid, not the specific overall aid as a whole, just military aid, about 6% of it goes to Israel alone. I ain't mad at it, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, like I say, people might be thinking, oh, I'm saying that because I'm Muslim. Nah, I'm not saying that because I'm saying that because I'm human. I'm saying that because you cannot be saying that you want peace in a region and then supplying weapons to one side without, you know what I mean, and thinking that that's going to bring peace in the region, and you want to bring both sides together, but you empowering one side. Like, I get it. These are all man-made policies. They're not traditional American values. They're man-made policies along the way. You know what I mean? On trade, the president continues to suggest that deficit means the United States is losing money. I told President Yi we cannot continue to have China take $500 billion a year out of the United States. That's wrong. The trade deficit just means that Americans are buying more Chinese products than the Chinese are buying from the United States. And whose fault is that? Who's deciding to go make shit in China? American businesses. Like, no one is putting the gun to their head. They could have easily made their products here if they were not so greedy, but they had to chase after cheap labor. I'm just saying, when cheap labor was in America 400 years ago, namely slavery, when cheap labor was here, you didn't see them, you won't talk about no deficit because all the money was staying in there. Like, the labor was free, it wasn't cheap, it was free. King Cutting, motherfucker. 400 years of free labor, motherfucker. Say, no, let me stop, yo. I'm sounding like, what's his name? Ken Young over here. Ken Jong. How you say his name? Ken Jong? Dr. Ken Jong. That's wrong. The trade deficit just means Americans are buying more Chinese products than the Chinese are buying from the United States. Not that the Chinese are somehow stealing U.S. money. Trade deficit is also affected by macroeconomic factors, such as the relative strength of currencies, economic growth rates, and savings and investment rates. Trump also continues to misstate the trade deficit with China. It's not 500 billion as he told Stoll. It was 330. See, even I was wrong. That 439 billion deficit that that I keep talking about associated with Obama, that was actually in 2015. Not even when he left in 2017. When he left in 2017, it was 335 billion. And when he took office in 2009, it was 1.4 trillion dollars. And when he left in 2017, it was 335 billion dollars. Yeah, America was great. Obama was a great president. MAGA words, MAGA followers. Fuck you. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it. It's like, no, let me stop, man. Let me stop. Trump also continues to misstate the trade deficit with China. It's not $500 billion as he told Stoll. It was 335 billion in 2017, according to a U.S. government figure. The United States imported $505 billion of goods from China. So maybe that's where Trump gets his number. Curiously, he denied to Stoll that he ever said he was engaged in a trade war with China, even though he has said and tweeted it many times, including on Fox News last week. He insisted that he had only called it a quote battle, a term he has used at times, but was now suddenly downgrading it to a mere skirmish. He also falsely said that the European Union was formed in order to take advantage of us on trade. That's a misreading of history at best. How he ain't gonna miss? The motherfucker don't know history, Leslie. Come on, Les. Come on. We gotta stop. People have gotta stop listening to this fucking guy, yo. Like literally. Like even just ignore the fact that he's president. Like I know that's gonna make him madder and probably wanna push a button. You know what I mean? Just I wanna say cut his thumbs and pinky off so he can't hold his phone to tweet. You know what I mean? If he doesn't have these, he can't possibly. How can you hold? How can you hold? He won't be able to tweet, especially if he doesn't. He won't be able to. Maybe they need to cut off these 4 limbs of him. Yeah. Again, Secret Service. I'm not threatening him. I'm just saying maybe somebody needs to maybe get him away from his Twitterverse and get rid of his thumbs and his pinkies. You know what I mean? Ooh, they're gonna come after me for that one. They're gonna come after me for that one. They're gonna come after me worse than Kathy Griffin for that one. Astaghfirullah. Whew, yeah. And they're gonna hate me for that one. He also falsely said that the European Union was formed in order to take advantage of us on trade. That's a misreading of history at best. The EU got its start shortly after World War II as the European coal and steel community, an early effort to bind together bitter enemies such as Germany and France in a common economic space to promote peace. Trump surfaced another old favorite knock on the US allies. We shouldn't be paying almost the entire cost of NATO to protect Europe. Actually, the United States pays 22% of NATO's common fund. Trump keeps counting U.S. defense spending devoted to patrolling the Pacific Ocean and other parts of the world as part of NATO's funding. When it was pointed out that Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, a former general who served in the military for 44 years, says he believes NATO had kept the peace for 70 years, Trump sniffed. I think I know more about it than he does. Questioned about Russian interference in the 2016 election, Trump considered that they meddled, but he added, I think China meddled too. When Stoll said he was diverting the whole Russia thing, Trump insisted he was not. I'm not doing anything, he demurred. I'm saying Russia, but I'm also saying China. There is no evidence China engaged in the same disinformation efforts as Russia. China does not have those balls yet. China probably has the means, they probably have the balls, but China is not that KGB-ish ahead of shit with America like that for them to attempt something like that. Vladimir Putin is, because Vladimir Putin was one of the KGB leaders in the 80s and 90s, especially in the in the late 70s and early 80s, all the way to the early 90s, who actually had a lot of assets, a lot of spies under his control, a lot of assets in the United States. So yeah, he knows that Cold War battle very well compared to China. China just became relevant in the last 20, 30, 40 years. Not even 40 years, in the last 25 years. And China wouldn't have been relevant if it wasn't for American businessmen chasing after cheap labor in China. Point blank, period. You cannot deny that. If you deny that, you don't know the history, so shut that shit up. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, go ahead with it. So China just became relevant. They That's why the Obama administration put together the Trans-Pacific Partnership that was going to circumvent China and their dominance and their short-lived dominance in their region. If American businesses decide today to take out all their investments out of China, China's economic prowess will cease to be relevant. And they know that. American businesses know that. Just like if 70% of the NFL players in the NFL decide to boycott the rest of the season, NFL owners' powers will cease to be relevant, at least for the time being. And you can use that collective power you just garnered and get them at the table and set better deals for you guys and better protection, better benefits for you guys. The NBA players did it in the 70s or the 60s. I can't remember exactly, but they did it in the 70s. I think she was an all-star game. They were in the locker room. They said they're not getting on the court. They said they're not playing in the all-star. Yeah, you know what I mean? There is no evidence China engaged in the same disinformation effort as Russia, which intelligence agencies have said was designed to swing the vote towards Trump. Finally, Trump continued his habit of mischaracterizing what his predecessor did. You gotta go to his favorite boogeyman, racist America's favorite boogeyman, the black man. And that man right there was the educated black man who did such an awesome job for minorities that they feared what was about to come next if they let him have his way. Obama ain't had his way not one day in the White House. Trust and believe. As a president, Obama had less of his way than every other president before him combined. Yes, historians know I'm right. And the reason I say he had his way is because in 8 years he had 4 months of a full Congress. He claimed that Barack Obama, quote, gave away the Crimea region of Ukraine, when actually Russia seized it, and Obama then led an efforts to impose sanctions in response. I mean, if Trump knew his history, he would have probably said Bush did the same thing with Georgia. When Russia seized Georgia in 2008, Bush couldn't do nothing but just apply sanctions. Obama imposed tougher sanctions than Bush did, though. You know, I'm just saying. I know these things. If you look, it's out there too. You will know them too. You know. He also falsely claimed that, quote, Obama had the same thing as Trump's controversial family separation policy at the border. This is wrong. There is a collection of policies and court rulings spanning Democratic and Republican administrations, but none required the Trump administration to separate children from their families, as Starr correctly noted. I wanted the laws changed, Trump said, but his preferred approach failed in the Senate, getting only 36 of 51 possible Republican votes. He has made little effort to negotiate a compromise. In one of the testy back and forth, Trump tried to shut down Starr with one line that was indisputably true. I'm president, he said, and you are not. You sound like Nixon. What the president do is not illegal. Sound like Nixon, dumbass over there. Okay, let me go back. Let me go back now to TIP real quick. So all you rappers acting bad, you gon' have to show. I gon' make me bring this Chevy to a real slow quick. You gon' make me bring this Chevy to a real slow quick. Female founders. The Players Tribune is an online juggernaut. She is the secret force behind it. By Yasmin Gagné. Jamie Messler's sports management firm represented Derek Jeter until the baseball superstar retired. Excuse me. Then the duo hatched their own sports media company. Jamie Messler worked her way up from being an assistant in the fast-talking, male-dominated world of sports management to becoming the secret weapon behind Derek Jeter's media platform, the Players Tribune. After she spent 12 years at Excel Sports Management, where she and the Yankee star, a client, found each other, the two teamed up to hatch the platform, which is dedicated to publishing first-person stories by athletes. Yo, when I say, yo, Jeter, I know there were some publications, some companies who clowned you for this, who came at you like, oh, it ain't gonna last. But you knew one thing. You knew one thing. Athletes, like, as much as fans like to not think athletes are human too, especially since a lot of the athletes in this country are minorities. I hate to say, sports is probably the one thing that minorities dominate in this country. Enter- Entertainment, probably not, nah. Sports, but it's actually the actual participation in sports itself. Not the viewership, not the upper management, not the nothing. But Jeter knows that people need a platform to voice it in their own way without a publicist writing for them, without somebody, they can put in their own voice. Like Shaquem Griffin did, Julius Thomas did, So, I digress. So. Says Jeter of his partner. A lot of people say starting a new media company was a crazy idea, and many thought we would fail. Yeah, never lie. Jamie is a true entrepreneur. She is someone who believes strongly in her vision and has pursued it fearlessly. Since the Tribune's founding in 2014, Messler, one of Inc.'s female founders 100, has raised $58 million dollars for the New York City-based upstart, and now has set a sights on expanding into podcast, television, and feature films, as told to Yasmin Gagné. I was always into sports. I have a twin brother, and playing sports was how we connected. When I was in college, I heard about this sports agency in Virginia called Octagon, which was interesting to me. But my first job after I graduated was actually working for a famous chef at the Watergate Hotel. Watergate, Bob Woodward. Say that upside. What up, dummy? Dummy dump truck. What's good? Still fucking shit up? You still got prostitutes coming to the White House trying to give you dumb off the top. I know Melody don't touch that thing no more. ASAP, ASAP, ASAP. Yo, what the fuck happened to hip hop, yo? Hip hop, man. Well, you can listen to a whole album and not have to. You could probably hear the rapper call a woman a B like maybe 10 times. I know that's still a lot for a whole album, but still 10 times compared to 20 times a song. You know what I mean? It was before the Food Network was around, and I was able to start building a brand for this two-star Michelin chef who had this huge personality. I started out as an assistant, but I got really into the branding aspect and built a role for myself. Ooh, that spit went down the wrong pipe. That spit went down the wrong pipe. Maybe that's the sign that I should have kept reading this article. Huh? Fuck that. We gonna read it. I need to just need some water. I started out as an assistant, but I got really into the branding aspect and built a role for myself. I would go around the country with him helping to plan cooking demonstrations. Someone introduced me to this tennis agent, Jeff Schwartz, who worked at talent agency IMG. He represented Pete Sampras and Martina Hingis, and I interviewed to be his assistant. I was obsessed with getting that job, and I was aggressive about getting it. I hand delivered a thank you note the next day. I stayed with Jeff for 19 years, eventually becoming the chief marketing officer of Excel Sports, the agency we built together. In the sports world, especially back then, there were not a lot of women in decision-making positions. It's still not enough. I created the roles I had for myself, finding the intersection of management and marketing. There were a lot of challenges in a really male environment. Everyone thought I was the assistant all the time unless somebody made a specific point to introduce me with a title. My title was so important because if I walked in somewhere with an athlete, people would assume I was part of their entourage. Especially early in my career, a lot of wives and girlfriends did not want me involved with the players. It was a challenge I did not expect. I remember a couple of specific instances where I had a meeting with an athlete and his girlfriend and pitched an incredible campaign and thought it went so well, and then afterward I was told she didn't want me doing anything with them. I always felt I had to prove myself and go above and beyond to make sure I was indispensable. But as a result, there was never any balance for personal life. I felt like if it wasn't there or if I wasn't needed, things would go wrong. Yo, she just said something interesting, yo. It's sadly a lot of women that's been programmed to think. I hate to use the word program. That's been made to believe that other women will not be able to do the task of a task that's been predominantly historically, culturally, naturally has not naturally over time in over the course of millennia has become known as manwork. You know what I mean? That's bullshit. Like, and I'm saying that to say I need a lot of women. We all need the world need a lot of women who think like that. To stop thinking like that, yo. Like that is so backwards. That is so garbage. That is so bullshit. I truly believe that there's nothing that a man can do that a woman would not be able to do. But there are few things that a woman can do that a man would never be able to do that we cannot do. Like you cannot deny that. You cannot go away from that. If you deny that something's wrong with your mind, you'll get that shit checked out. Smoke a spliff or something. Like maybe it can open up your mind or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what other solutions I have for you if you don't believe it's such. You know what I mean? I digress though. Back to Yasmin's article. As a CMO, I saw a need for a platform for athletes to be able to have a voice and share stories in an authentic way. Derek, having worked in one of the country's biggest media markets, saw it too. We felt that trust has eroded between players and reporters because so many articles are headline driven these days, and a lot of athletes I've worked with were wary of sharing their stories with news outlets. I was ready for something new, and Derek was starting a new chapter. I felt like the right opportunity for us to launch a company on the heels of his announcement. We met with a bunch of VCs, and all of them said, "So you're telling me that you're building a company that's 100% reliant on athlete contribution? Good luck with that." But then Derek introduced me to Thomas Toll, who was the chairman of Legendary Entertainment, and he got the concept right away because he loved sports and he knew about content. He was our first investor. We launched the day after Derek's last game. Every day we publish a new story. Russell Wilson wrote about domestic violence. Blake Griffin wrote about working for a racist boss. The next week, Danica Patrick wrote about dating a fellow NASCAR driver. The more stories we told, the more athletes wanted to share their stories. I recently moved to LA to build out the production side of the company. Right now, we want to be diversifying the way we tell athletes' story. We're looking at developing scripted or unscripted video and audio content. Our revenue growth was 30% in 2017, and we're going to end 2018 with anywhere from 105 to 135% growth. Wow! This is my first time reading this article, by the way. I hadn't read it before, so I just saw it after the Oppo article. It was the next one, so I figured let me read it. Which yeah, I've learned so much in the past 4 years about female athletes. Some of the problems that exist for them stem from the fact that they don't have as much visibility. I wanted to tell those stories. If you're connecting with these players, more people are going to want to watch them. If more people watch them, their salaries will get higher. Being inclusive and being diverse is a huge priority for the platform in general. It's a challenge because when you're growing, we started with 30 employees and now we have more than 100. You feel a sense of urgency to hire certain positions, but you want to be thoughtful about whom you hire. Now I try to be a mentor to other women. We always say, how do we send the elevator down? That's a good one. I hadn't heard it before. That was a good one though. I think there are a lot more women now in decision-making roles in sports. You even see more women in the field, like Becky Hammond, who's on the bench for the Spurs. And then the Mavericks just had their first female assistant coach, Jenny Bosek. Yo, the Mavericks just changed up their whole stuff. And the Wizards just had a woman as one of their trainers or one of their coaching personnel. Good job, Ted Leonis. Thank you, sir. Good job. You know what I mean? We appreciate that. The world needs that. Like, y'all know, man, we are pieces of shit who have ruined the world under the guise of making it better. You know? Very early on in my career, I represented a tennis player who would only wear Adidas on the court, even though she was signed to another shoe brand. The night before Wimbledon, I had to get a pair of Adidas shoes couriered to me and literally paint over the Adidas stripes so no one could tell. The young female assistant who sent me the shoes went on to become the head of a sports league, and we're good friends now. Sometimes we get together and we just laugh. I mean, look where we came from. Published on October 15th of 2018. Interesting read. I like that one. The whispered speculation about replacing John McCain is getting louder. This was from April the 4th of 2018, on the 50th anniversary when Dr. King was killed. This is by Vox.com, right? And it was written by Dylan Scott. And it says, the senator's brain cancer diagnosis raises the real possibility of another Arizona Senate vacancy. It might be uncomfortable to talk about, but Senator John McCain, Republican Arizona, has been fighting brain cancer since July. The 81-year-old has now returned to the U.S. Capitol since December, so the speculation is already underway about what would happen if McCain stepped down or worse, could no longer serve. That's what's going on now. The Washington Post reported Tuesday that the list of potential successors is circulating in the whispering Republican class, headlined by McCain's wife Cindy McCain and former U.S. Senator John Cao. If McCain leaves office before May 30th, the Post indicated his Senate seat will be on the ballot in Arizona in November 2018, as will that of his retiring junior colleague, Republican Senator Jeff Flake. Yo, Jeff, I'm asking you again, man, please don't retire. Just switch parties, please. Just switch parties. You have seen the error of your party's ways, man. Switch parties. I guarantee you, America will not let you down, man. I'm telling you. So, like, mind you now, it's October now, and this article was written in April, so keep that in mind. After May 30th, the new senator who will be appointed by Republican Governor Doug Ducey will serve through 2020. So that's why McCain had to retire, had to leave office. Now retire, had to leave before May 30th. Because if he wouldn't have, Christine Simina would not be on the ballot right now wanting to fill his seat. You know what I mean? She wouldn't be. The Republican governor would have had to appoint somebody that was going to stay in McCain's seat till 2020. That wouldn't be good. So McCain did one act of Americanness before leaving us. You know what I mean? And what he did is to be taken seriously, because that man saw something in his party, in his coins form. He saw something that wasn't right. That man will probably agree with me right now that his party needs to be disbanded, because they have gone off the rails. They have been going off the rails for a long time. It's finally happened. Facing the headwinds of an unpopular agenda and an unpopular president in a rapidly diversifying state, Senate Republicans, especially after a stunning Democratic win in deep red Alabama in December, Roy Moore's loss, Doug Jones's win, are confronting the possibility that despite a favorable Senate map in 2018, they could lose control of the Senate. They currently hold a slim 51-49 majority. If two Arizona seats were on the ballot, the path to a big Democratic wave could run through the Grand Canyon state, a pair of Senate seats for the taking. In a state that had been trending blue and where Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump by less than 4 percentage points in 2016. We could have two Senate seats in one of America's new battleground states. Nobody wants to be caught publicly speculating about a legendary senator's possible retirement or death. But as the Post report indicates, there are conversations happening behind closed doors in Arizona and in Washington. Given McCain's age and the diagnosis, it's simply a reality that he may not be able to serve for much longer. He left Washington in mid-December to receive continuing cancer treatment in his home state. The most notable thing about the speculation thus far is the lack of consensus. From the Post. In public, influential Republicans have been reluctant to speculate about McCain's future in the context of electoral politics out of respect to the Senate titan, who is beloved by many in the party. But privately, they have engaged in talks about who might replace him or run for his seat. From those conversations, which have occurred amongst strategists, officials and donors in Arizona and Washington, and a long list of names has emerged of possible interim or long-term successors, including McCain's wife Cindy and former Senator John Cao. Interviews from nearly a dozen Republicans this week, most of them spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss a sensitive topic, revealed a sense of nervousness over the lack of a clear roadmap. The problem, as one prominent Arizona Republican said, is there is no logical or obvious successor. Cindy, who has been married to McCain since 1980, have never held political office, but she has a long history in the national spotlight after her husband's two presidential campaigns and has a record of international humanitarian work. She was rumored last year to be under consideration for a role at the State Department. Appointing a politically engaged widow to replace their spouse is relatively uncommon. It's relatively common. There is even a political science term for it, widow succession, as the Washington Post's Christopher Ingram wrote a couple years ago. Carr represented Arizona in the Senate for 18 years, eventually rising to the number 2 Republican post. He stepped down in 2013 and has become a lobbyist. He had a representation while in the Senate as one of the most conservative lawmakers in the chamber, though his party has continually moved to the right since he was first elected. Ducey, the Arizona governor, has refused to make any public comments about whom he might appoint to replace McCain, and the Post reported that he has dismissed the idea that he might appoint himself. Former Arizona Representative John Shadegg and Ducey's chief of staff, Kirk Adams, are some other names that have surfaced during this somewhat distasteful parlor game. According to the Post, citing Arizona election officials, if McCain leaves his seat before May 30th, there would be a special election this year to replace him. The primary will be held in August and the general election in November. And the reality is that Arizona will give Democrats some of their best chance to pick up seats in their unlikely bid to retake the Senate. Flake is retiring, with a contentious GOP primary taking shape to replace him. Established favorite Martha McSally is facing conservative firebrand and Breitbart favorite Kelly Ward, while anti-immigration hawk Sheriff Joe Arpaio, the recipient of a Trump pardon, has also thrown his hat into the ring. Democrats have a strong recruit in the representative Kristen Sinema. Arizona is already a crucial battleground for the 2018 midterms. A second Senate election might make it the most important state in the union, as Vox Matt Iglesias explained. Republicans